Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week 2022 and the Y4S Forum is proud to have the support of our principal partner, Abu Dhabi Department of Energy. Therefore, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome His Excellency Engineer Awaidha Murshed Marar, Chairman of Abu Dhabi Department of Energy, for his keynote address on the theme Building Youth Adaptability for a Sustainable Future.
I'm paid for it. So if you are paid for something and you believe on something, then you would excel on it. So let me capitalize on what we've heard from His Excellency. It's an amazing words. It's truly start with our mindset. What do we believe on? Do you hear me? Do we believe on our act? Does it, where it starts as well? Does it start from a painful point that we feel pain and then we act on changing? Or actually it starts from a mindset that somehow triggers it. And you know that what triggers those issues are actually the amount of exposure that a person is subjected to. How much you are exposed to experience. That's working?
It's upside down.
Upside down. I think a lot of things are upside down now. You come and fix it, I'll go there. I was saying, and it all starts from the mind. So, but something needs to trigger the mind. So what triggered the mind? Either experience, knowledge, or a belief that you are raised with. Talking about sustainability and what does it truly means, I was in a discussion with my daughter Fatma, and I told her that I'm going to have this speech. And Fatma, almost, I think, as an average of your age. And she said, okay, what's sustainability? And I said, look at how your grandmother is living on a daily matters. And you will truly understand what sustainability is. Look at how people are conserving and consuming the essential issues that they need. So you will look at the sustainability. So a long discussion comes along. And we said, and I told her, Fatma, do we need to be hit by another pandemic, what's called global warming? So we understand and start acting on the impact of such climate change. And I told her, look around us. Everybody's wearing masks. Look around you as well. Everybody's wearing masks. I couldn't even dare to tell you, take out your mask. Because you all already mindseted that you want to protect yourself, you want to protect your nation, and this is part of an individual act that we need to do. We are all feeling this, and I'm sure you're feeling the same. So the question is, what if the whole world is actually increased by 3 degrees? Can somebody imagine this? So now if I tell you, imagine there is a pandemic, imagine there is a virus that hits the whole world, you said, yeah, okay, yes, we've actually living it, we've felt it. We know how much it have impacted us. We know how much when we are entering the home, we want to make sure that our hands are washed. And we've not actually been exposed and we bring in those diseases or viruses to our grandmother or mother or elderly because they are most vulnerable to that. So you'll be telling me stories and stories how that actually have changed us, right? But if I tell you, can you imagine a 3-degree increase on the whole world? Maybe you'll go to some textbook, maybe you'll go to some maybe commercial driven by an interest of making money maybe, which I think you are not yet exposed to as a youth. But then you are hearing a lot of information and you have amazing capability to actually understand all this information. Now, all what you're hearing about the rosy world, the fact is outside is much, much worse than this. And I'll tell you whether you accept it or not. We're going to sink the ship if we're still driving the way that we are driving the ship to. How much food we are throwing outside, how much water we are wasting, how much energy we are wasting. Are we just using what we need to our energy bodies, or we are exceeding that by far? Eventually, we will pay for that. Not only this, we will actually going to waste what meant for your children, your kids in the future. So we need to take care of you now. We need to get you exposed quickly and factually to how much we're going to suffer from the world. So when you come to this position, and when you come to His Excellency's position as a president and minister on a government, then you will be so much keen to say, I've wasted a lot of time not actually getting a fundamental reason for that impact. So you will be so much keen to convey the message to your generation or the next generation that yet to come. And you tell them, look, please make sure you just take enough water, make sure you just take enough food without wasting it. And you will not stand here and say, but you know, when it was my time, I've wasted a lot. I think we will all feel shame if we've not started acting on this. We've all heard melting the glacier. I was yesterday on a visit to exhibition to Canadian, and they have this huge paint of the glacier on northern of Canada. And the lady, she was so much proud of, at least he said, at least now we could fix. So this, she said, this glacier will never melt because it's a paint. But in the truth, if you ask our elderly there in Canada, still also the glacier was never actually melting. But now it starts melting. So they are in the beginning of seeing the change. That melt of the glacier, temperature raising, and all of that, it's going to happen. And it's, by the way, it's happening. But then the question is, what is our role to change it? We cannot change it. What we can do is actually slowing it down. Another phrase that was made very clearly as well in the opening, I wish you were there. There were a limited number to attend. But the main message was from His Excellency Dr. Sultan was, the main message to the whole world, we are not going to stop progress, but we are going to stop emitting CO2. So progress will happen. Nobody in the whole world can tell you, khalas, fine, we looked at it, we stop moving. No, we will be moving. The question is, how do we move smartly? How do we move with the least impact on the whole world? But I think we still can achieve that. It is not difficult to achieve. It's not difficult to say, well, let's forget it, let's go home and have fun. No, we can make the changes. We can easily make the changes. I cannot make the change. I don't think we will have a longer lifespan to make the change, but you can do. Our change that we can make is conveying that exposure to you as so quick and so clear, so you can start changing your behavior. Your kids and generation that will come after you could actually see you changing a behavior, and eventually we will slow down the damage that we are causing to the nature. His Excellency mentioned very nice words. It starts with the mind, and he ended it with there. Another concept he's also mentioned about planting the trees. As if he's telling us, you need to start in your zone, but that zone, somehow it's contributing to others' bigger pictures as well. If all of us here in the room start changing our behavior towards food, water, and energy, believe me, you will be seeing difference, and this circle of making the change getting bigger and bigger. You are so much lucky to have a president giving you his experience from whole journey to the top of the iceberg. He's saying, it starts with you, it starts with the mindset. But then we need to figure out how can you start with the mindset? And how can you do that? There's something that on you and something on us. But let me start with the things that we need to help you understand this. I sit in a government executive council. We look at how we make Abu Dhabi as a contribution to the whole UAE nation to become number one, as our leadership have always mentioned and wanted us to be. We also look at the social life. We also look at the economic part. This is the broader picture. But then in a focus area, we are looking at the energy sector, coordinating with other companies when it comes to the operation, but we set the strategy specifically to serve the overall strategy of Abu Dhabi, but also we write the policy and we do the regulation. How that can benefit you. We are caring much and more about changing people's behavior, Fadal Doctor, because that will somehow adjust the demand that power is being consumed. And as you always remember in your economic classes, that you always need to maintain demand supply, right? So can you have more supply than demand? What happened? Or in my old language, when I was your age, you screwed up. And if you have more demand than less supply, then you go, or somebody will throw you in the jail because you're not balancing. So our job is to make sure that we are balancing. So we balance the demand and supply. Supply, you can get your energy from machines, gas burning, which goes back to the CO2 emission. Or you can go to cleaner solutions such as renewables, which we have a lot of successful projects in Abu Dhabi, or a clean, as His Excellency as well mentioned, on the nuclear. But then let's look at the demand side. Do we have the true demand, or we have a demand with a cushion that are actually, which we call fat demand, unnecessary demand? Do we truly need that demand, or it is flowing somewhere that somebody is burning gas for and transmitting power for, which eventually has no meaning, or we can live without? This is the thing that you actually need to keep in mind. How can we shave that fat to get rid of it? I'll give you a very simple example. When you study for your exam, do you keep the lights on and you just move from the desk on the library of the university? Or sometimes you need to switch it off. So the mentality of switching it off will make difference. Likewise, in the UAE and on this part of the world where it is hot and humid, you always need to have your AC on. But then when you leave the AC room, do you want to keep it on? So this is where a mentality change or shift need to happen. Even if you want to maintain it, let's say for furniture and so on, but you need to reduce its temperature. That will make a huge difference on the demand side. That will shave big side of the unnecessary demand that you are wasting. And keep in mind, and I always keep in mind this, that this shaving of the fat, I can postpone it for maybe 20 years or 50 years. Maybe even at that time, technology and a new R&D will develop for a better use of AC, for example. Now, do we have, as a Department of Energy, with all that in mind, balancing between supply and demand, an action on us? Yes, we have a big action on us. Our role to stand up here and tell you this very openly, bluntly, and dry, and let you understand how much we are looking at actually to help the generation to change their behavior and to take this huge assets and jewelry to actually make sure they are protecting and moving on development. Accordingly, in Department of Energy, and I'd like you to visit our stand, we have a full section about energy efficiency. Please ask questions. Ask 100 of a question. That's meant for you. You are so much lucky to have even a forum like this. I'd like to thank Zainab and I'd like to thank Masdar for arranging on this. They've actually put their finger on actually the pain point, which is how we're going to embed on our generation the new fundamental. And this is where it starts. Today you are here, tomorrow you will be there. tomorrow you'll be facing the changes. So we're providing knowledge. I missed the last 2 years. We could not meet with you because of pandemic. But the last 3 years, we've actually opened for trainee exercise in Department of Energy. We've also had, I think, 15 number of youth that have joined Department of Energy. And we take them through the journey of experience. Definitely the good ones, they stay because we offer them a job. Now, what is on your side as an action that you need to start doing? And I'm sure you're truly worried about, or at least back of your mind, what is your job career? And beyond this, what is actually your life development? How do you see yourself on the future? Contributing, or you'll just be a number? So hopefully you'll be contributing to a lifestyle, not only on energy, but the fundamental of sustainability. So hopefully you actually be an agent for the change. Hopefully you will be shining out. And again, I keep repeating that you have the huge opportunity by expanding your knowledge, fully understand your potential, fully understand the challenge that need to come, how can we train ourselves and avoid them. I think you will have the opportunity for a better job in the future. Can we see hands? How many of you are seeking job? So 45, 50%. I get calls every day from people, female and male, they want to be hired. And that phenomena is kept increasing. So you need to do a lot of training to yourself. You need to shine out very clearly, solid, understand all the parameters around you so you could be picked in an interview for hopefully a better job and a better development. So that's with your hand. Now imagine we start acting, and then this circle kept increasing and increasing and increasing, and we truly made up the change. I think we will have a much longer time, at least to enjoy the glacier, to enjoy sounds of the birds, and to enjoy seeing the trees that we plant. So please start from the mind. Start by having it in the mind clearly, but that alone will not be the solution. You need to show that through your action every day. You need to start from home. You need to start with your family. You need to start with kids, whoever have kids. They need to see you acting with a sustainable maneuvering every day, from the time you make up your bed to the time you go back to the bed. I think with that you will truly change the needle, and we'll be with you. And we trust you that you will take this fundamental and you pass it to the generation that yet to come. Pass it with knowledge. Let them please not to suffer the pandemic because you felt it. So hopefully we will not feel the 3-degree increase in the whole world, and we'll start drawing the model of what it could be like and start acting from now. Let's not act later on by wearing masks and hopefully trying to let it go. The sooner we act, the better. I'd like to thank you, and I enjoy so much talking to you. I feel that I'm home, and I feel that I'm in good hands. At least my family and the future of UAE and the whole world will be in good hands with that type of mentality. That's not only good for the room, but need to be showcased as an action plan. Please make sure you visit our stand as the Department of Energy. Look at the innovation. Look at the model that we've also developed. We've developed the model to look at demand and supply. And if we change a bit on the supply, what happened to the demand? Test the idea with my team to say, well, if we remove or reduce the demand by our act, how that will save emission of CO2. you will be able to get those answers. Thank you very much. Please enjoy the rest of the day. وزينب آسف دست على ريلك وأنا داخل. آسف دست على ريلك وأنا داخل. الله يعوضك. الله يسلمك.
I have two questions asked due to time, and then please go ahead.
2 from her, 2 from me. So 4.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for the wise words you have shared. I was listening to you, and in my mind, I was thinking how much I wish my dad was next to me, right? It's been one of the most difficult challenges to convince the older people to change their ways. They tend to really stick and hold on to the things they have practiced for a really long time. I currently just graduated. I'm a fresh graduate of material sciences and energy engineering. And my whole life, all I've been doing is coming back home, trying to find an analogy to tell my parents, right? It's just hard. So I told my mom, let's say you're in the Titanic and you know you're eventually going to hit an iceberg and you'll die. What will you do? She's like, I wouldn't ride the Titanic to begin with. And I told her, see, the only reason there's an iceberg there is because there's like not educated. We're not very well educated on that. So one of the things I always suggest my parents, let's change the ACs and get more efficient ones. These are not just going to cut down the cost of electricity at the end of the month, but we're also going to reduce the carbon emissions. But they refuse, and it's really hard to convince people, and it's like you're always an advocate for change. So when I came back, I got my final year research published and everything, and I got everything, and I was so excited. I had a smile on my face, and I was running to every single office. Hey, I did a very breakthrough research that no one has ever done, and it's just going to show how much the UAE can contribute towards sustainability if these methods were applied. And everyone was like, okay, so is it going to generate revenue? And the answer was no. It's going to reduce carbon emissions, and in the long run, the country is going to be starting to, as you said, remove the cushion. Because the issue I took in hands was how we can reduce the consumption of AC. So my question as a whole, how can you convince people to practice or pursue sustainability when they're very, let's say, stubborn, or they're very somewhat like they don't want to take the matters into their hands? Because if it's not broke, why fix it? That's the mentality nowadays, and how can we change that mentality? We can change it within ourselves, but how beneficial is that to the community if we can't change it around us? Thank you.
والله والله. شو اسمك الله يعوضك؟
اسمي محمد عيسى.
اوكي. محمد لعبت الليجوز او البازلز هذيلا البيكتشرز where you need to find the pieces and to make the whole picture. You played it, right? So even if you excel on one of making it on the right position, or 2 or 3 or 5, still if you don't put the whole pieces together, you will never be able to see the picture. So starting if you've excelled on how do you reduce the waste on AC, for example, on your specific research area, that is perfect and good, and that is needed. The question is, does it fit to make sense with the rest of the other puzzles? Then that says the difference between a truly changing the needles collectively or at your area. So on a specific, well-developed nations, that specific well study is needed because they have already other pieces are well done when it comes to the financial part or research or commercial issues. So they actually can fit the pieces together. In this part of the world, we are still developing. Still, doses are needed, but we also need to understand how can I have my solution workable from all other aspects, especially doability and making it feasible commercially. So please, you need to maintain that. And you only reach that by the time you actually grow and see the whole pictures. But let me go back to your لعيسى الوالد الله يحفظه. ترى هذول الناس ما قصروا. Those people have never spent something that will actually going to harm you. And the biggest event for that, here we go, we are proud of you. We will never be proud of you and Abu Dhabi and UAE if we don't have that person, who your father, at least sending you away to study and be patient of his child for a long time studying, because he knows that one day you'll be back and you will add value. So only doing that for him is enough, is needed at this time of his period to actually generate a generation that they will change the needle. Forget the rest of their current behavior. Now, if you go back to look at their behavior as well, they were the best, as I said in my beginning of the speech, they were the best demonstration of sustainability. Believe me, they were the best behavior simply because they lived where the oil is generated. And His Highness Sheikh Zayed, Allah yarhamah, wa ruh al-Jannah, have done a remarkable job to focus on developing the nation. He doesn't want people to suffer as his generation did suffer. So he had all the oil and he have the people, and he start pumping the benefit directly to the land and to the people. That made a big shift to their behavior and change of their lifestyle from bringing the water from a 50 or 100 meter on top of their heads, protecting it, keeping it high from the kids to play with, to now a sensor system. You put your hand and then the water comes on board. And today's generation, and I have Muhammad and Abdullah, they believe that the water is only from that tap. And they don't do anything with that tap, either to lift it up if we go to Liwa, or here they just put their hand and the water comes out. So imagine the shift happened to UAE. Our elderly, they are on top of our heads. They have done a remarkable. They need to be admired for their time. The question is, how can we have our kids that you're going to have as Muhammad be proud of you now by understanding the whole picture? فأتمنى جاوبتك.
Your Excellency, allow me to make a suggestion.
Please.
We will be organizing a tour to all
Okay.
the students to the Department of Energy stand, where they have a dedicated more time with them and yourself tomorrow, inshallah, for more questions, because I believe that you're scheduled to interviews as well. And we will be specific organizing this time, if that is okay with you.
Okay, but the moment I go outside this room, I become old again. Thank you, Zainab, for arranging this. Yes, please stand by. Whether you see me on the stand or the corridors, stop me, pull me from my qatra, I'll stop and talk to you. Thank you very much. Wish you good luck.